العلم أشراف مطلوب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدمه. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. طيب, we'll start with Manhaj Saalikeen. What is the ta'rif of riba? So first and foremost, we're now studying the conditions of bay', the conditions, shurud al-bay'. We studied the first shagd, which was what? What was the first shagd? A-rida. The first shagd was a-rida, meaning the buyer and the seller have to be happy with the transaction, happy with the aqd, with the transaction. طيب. What was the second condition? طيب, that there's no ignorance or ambiguity or uncertainty surrounding it. Who can give me an example from the sisters? An example with a bay' that is muharram, that doesn't meet that condition. Come on, we should be spitting them out by now. Gambling. طيب, gambling is muharram. That mu'amala is muharram. أحسنت. طيب, you can't say I'll give you whatever is in my pocket for that phone that you've got. طيب, excellent. What was the third condition? Complete ownership. طيب. So we said that there are four people that are allowed, four types that are allowed to do the transaction. The first is what? The what? First, before the wakil, the what? The wasi, طيب, the wasi, the wakil, al-wali and al-nadir. Nothing else? Wali, na'am, so we said. So what about the malik, the owner himself? The owner himself? Na'am. Also the owner also has to be of sound judgment and has to be a person who is over the age of puberty. Is that for every single situation? What does it exclude? Normal bay', طيب. Not normal bay'. Normal bay' can be anything. Now, small things that are, in terms of custom, they're normal, buying milk and so on from the supermarket. طيب. The fourth condition. The fourth condition? La. By now, you guys should have already said it. There's only one person, two people that had their hand up. The sisters, no one had their hand up from the sisters. Allah yakun fihi riba. That there is no riba. طيب, what is the ta'rif of riba? Last week we studied 4 points, one after the other. Ta'rif of riba. Istilahan. First and foremost, istilahan. الزيادة في أشياء, increasing in أشياء. والنسأ في أشياء. طيب, increasing in أشياء. طيب, أحسنت. What was the next question? طيب, what are the amwal, the types of, and this sister's question to the sisters, the amwal, the types of wealth that riba falls into? ذهب, فضة, بر, milh, sha'ir. There has to be one more. Tamar, ahsant. Tamar, 6. طيب. Is, for the brothers, is it restricted to these 6? Is يعني الربا restricted to these 6? لا. Why? Okay, before we get there, is it restricted, yes or no? Okay, why is it not restricted? And what do we use to say it's not restricted? Qiyas. طيب. Is there a second opinion on that? What is that second opinion? لحظة Abdullah. It is restricted to these 6. It is restricted. So there's one opinion that say it is restricted to these 6 and another opinion that say it is not restricted to these 6. What is the difference between the two? Is it just a different, there's lafzi, or is it just the meaning? Is it just a different that doesn't really have any fruit to it? Or is it a real khilaf? Is there something tangible? The khilaf. Does anyone understand what I just said? Huh? What is the meaning? Excellent. The issue goes back to qiyas. Okay? A lot of times in fiqh, when you come across a khilaf in a mas'ala, a lot of times, not every time, like in a lot of times it goes back to a khilaf in the usul of that specific madhab. So for example, the jumhur of the ulama, the Hanabila, the Malikiyya, the Shafi'iyya and the Hanafiyya, they say that there is qiyas. The Zahiriyya, Abu Dawud the Zahiri, Ibn Hazm and those sorts of scholars, the Zahiriyya, they say la, there's no qiyas in it. It is only these 6 and we can't use any other wealth. Lakin that goes back to an asl, which is there qiyas, yes or no? So the jumhur, when they're in usul al-fiqh, their usul, yes, they accept qiyas. Hence, it moves over to other types of wealth. طيب. So we've understood that there's qiyas. That means it's not only these 6, like there's other types of wealth that it goes over to. Riba, that is also found in. What is the connector? So we said qiyas, it has pillars, right? Pillars. Who can tell me the pillars of qiyas? 2 from the sisters and 2 from the brothers. Huh? Al-asl, the thing that you already know the ruling of. So in our case, مثلا gold. We already know the ruling of exchanging gold for gold. We know the ruling, صح? Which is that if one gold is more than the other gold, then it's haram, صح? طيب. The other one for the sisters, from the sisters. Huh? Al-far'. طيب. Excellent. Okay, in this case, what would be the far'? In our scenario here, cash. Excellent. Excellent. So the brothers, you can't let us down now. You need to tell us the other 2. Al-hukum. Excellent. And the hukum is what? What is the hukum of the asal? What is the ruling of gold over 10 grams of gold for 50 grams of gold? Haram. Haram. طيب. The far', the hukum, what else? There's something else. Hold on, Abdullah. There's something else that we need to find. Excellent. Illah. Al-illah. Al-illah. طيب. And that brings us on to the next question. طيب. طيب. What is the illah for the brothers? What is the illah for gold and silver? Jabir. الثمنية. طيب. الثمنية. الثمنية. طيب. What is the illah for the other girl, sisters? What is the illah, the reason for the other 4 types of wealth? Excellent, excellent. Al-wazn or al-kayl مع الطعم. أحسنتم. Excellent. طيب. So now, last week we said what? Anything that shares this illah, this reason of thamaniyah, then it takes the same ruling as gold and silver. So just like it's not permissible to sell 10 grams of fidda for 15 grams of fidda, just like that, then it's not permissible to exchange £100 for £100 or $100 for $100. Is that understood? And the same goes for al-wazn and al-kayl, or the other asnaf, the other four types of food. Anything that you find this illah, anything that is weighed in volume, that is measured in volume or measured in weight, that is also ta'am, then it is also haram to have tafadul, or one can't be more than the other. Who can give me an example? So the cash was an example for that, right? طيب. An example of the second? Bur for bur. طيب, that's mansus alayha. By the way, as a side benefit, that is called mansus alayha. The illah, the bur, gold, silver, all of that is mansus alayha. There's text showing that. But we want to find one that there's no nas. Sugar. طيب, is it eaten? Is it weighed? طيب, what else? Meat. Excellent. Meat. So we can't exchange 10 kilos of meat for 10 kilos of meat, right? Afwan. 10 kilos of meat for 15 kilos of meat. Can we exchange 10 kilos of meat for 10 kilos of meat? طيب, excellent. Okay. That was a revision from the last class. Everyone's up to date. Two terminologies that I want you to understand. You've already understood one of them anyway. Then we're going to go on to dawabit. Dawabit, kind of like qawa'id. Okay? If you understand this, then we can inshallah move on to the book and the rest will be easy. The rest will be easy. And in general, it's always easier to memorize the qawa'id, and then anything else you can easily get the answer for, or give a fatwa for, as long as you know the qa'idah. طيب. The first is al-illah. Who's memorized al-illah? طيب. Without looking here, obviously. Go on. وصف ظاهر منضبط يلزم من وجوده وجود الحكم. Excellent. ومن عدمه عدم الحكم. طيب, who else has memorized it? Excellent. Who else has memorized it? وصف ظاهر منضبط يلزم من وجود الحكم ومن حكم. Excellent. The sisters. For the first time in al-i'tisam, the brothers have outdone the sisters. MashaAllah alaykum. طيب. Mind you, they could be shy, so maybe they've memorized it. The reason I say this is because knowledge, dear brothers and sisters, you don't get it in one day, and you can't pick it up in one lesson. Lakin, if I give you an example, you know those games that children play? Yeah, there's those games that there's always rings lying around, right? And then you jump on the rings, you go, and then you get off the bus and there's more rings and you go on that, right? That's how ilm is. Knowledge in your tariq, in your path, it's like treasures that are in front of you. Every time you come across a treasure, you pick it up, you understand it and you memorize it. Like, if you leave it behind and you say, I'm going to come back another day, then you're not going to memorize the knowledge that is after that unless you've understood this. So remember last week, there were 4 points on there, on the board. Those 4 points, if you understood the first, you'll understand the second. If you understand the second, then you'll understand the third. If you've understood the third, then you'll understand and only then will you understand the fourth. طيب. Likewise, so this is in reality the fifth issue and the sixth issue. You will only understand the fifth issue if you've understood all 4 of last week's masail. Is that understood? طيب. So there's something called illah. You've already understood what illah is. And a simple example is, مثلا, traveling. A person is allowed to shorten their prayers and break their fast in Ramadan if they are traveling. Right? What is the illah? What is the reason for this concession being available to this person? Safar, traveling. طيب. That person can be going to the other side of the world, they could be going to another city within the UK also. as long as it's traveling, the illah is there. As long as the illah is there, يلزم من وجوده وجود الحكم. The hukum is there, which is you're allowed to shorten your prayers and so on. طيب. ومن عدمه, لكن if it is not present, that illah, that reason, عدم الحكم, the hukum is not there. For example, now, are we allowed to combine our prayers? Why? Because we're muqim, we're not traveling. طيب. That's the first masala. The second terminology I want you to understand, in order to understand this, is something called al-jins, which is type, kind. Best, jins means kind, a kind or a type. But that's obviously in Arabic. ما له اسم خاص يشمل أنواعا. ما له اسم خاص, that which has a specific name, يشمل أنواعا. Like it contains, it entails several different types. For example, gold. How many types of gold are there? There's different types of gold. There's white gold. There's what gold? The sisters should know. What types of gold are there? White gold? Huh? Bronze? Huh? Rose gold? Rose gold what? Red gold, white gold, rose gold. We didn't even know. Lakin, there's different types. So the jins, the name is what? Equals al-dhahab. That is the what? That is the jins. Lakin it has different types. There's red, what else? What was it? White, rose. There's different types. Okay? Is jins understood? Is jins understood? Huh? A general term. Like in that general term is talking about a certain kind or certain type. Illa and jins. Excellent. Lahm, meat. Lahm, meat. How many types of meat are there? Sheep, camel. Sheep, halal. Camel, halal. What? Baqara, cow, halal. Human meat, صح? Halal. Human meat, haram. طيب. لكن it's a type, صح? طيب. All of these are types of lahm. Excellent. Jazakallah khair. And tamar, dates, for example. There's different types. Khulas, ajwa, sukari. Different types of. طيب. Is that understood? طيب. So we've understood this point. And that point. Tawabid. Alright. So these are tawabid for understanding Babu Riba. These are tawabid. Why did I say tawabid and I didn't say qawa'id? مثلا, I could have said qawa'id. But I didn't. Huh? Who said that? Is it because it's specific to riba? Excellent. It is because it is specific to riba. No? Why? Halusha, you know what she meant though, innit? She meant it is specific to riba. Meaning here in this chapter, it is specific to riba. طيب. A tabid is a principle basically. Like in that principle is only to be found in one chapter. So for example, these three tawabid that we're going to learn today, inshallah, you can't apply them in Kitab al-Salah. إذا اتفقا في الجنس والعلة. You can't apply that in Kitab al-Salah. Nor can you apply it in Kitab al-Nikah, Kitab al-Hajj, and Kitab al-Siyam, and Zakah, and Talaq, and none of that. You can't use this. Just like, مثلا, for example, bay'. For example, if you say, ما جاز بيعه جاز قبضه. Whatever is permissible to sell, then it is also permissible to lend out. That is a dabid that is specific to the chapter of qard or lending that we shall see inshallah. So that is why that's the difference between qawa'id and dawabid. Like, if you were to say qawa'id, it's fine. Lakin that is a bit more precise. And since the terminology we're studying fiqh, it's better to use the terminology of the fuqaha. طيب. Write these down, understand them first. Understand them first. Don't write them down. I'm going to leave it on the board. Understand them first. Okay. The first qaida or the first tabid is إذا اتفق. Now you want to buy two things. There's two things that you want to sell, you want to buy. There's a buyer and a seller. طيب. So here we have two items. I have here two items with me. These two items at the moment they're nothing. Like when we get to the qawaid they are something. إذا اتفق يعني that alif is تثنية is two. إذا اتفق في الجنس if they're one in their kind, i.e. what? Gold and gold. This one is gold and this one is gold. إذا اتفق في الجنس. So they're both what? Gold. والعلة يعني واتفق في العلة as well. The علة they're the same as well. Okay? Is that understood? So now I have gold and gold, or silver and silver, or salt and salt. Is that understood? What is the hukum? The hukum is يجب التساوي والتقابض. يجب, what is wajib is that it has to be equal, meaning the amount has to be the same. 10 kilos of this and 10 kilos of that. Is that understood? 10 kilos of gold for 10 kilos of gold. So it has to be equal. Okay? And a taqabud means it has to be there and then, hand to hand. Hand to hand. So I can't say, listen, I'm going to buy 10 grams of gold from you for this 10 grams of gold, but I'll bring my one to you later on. Let me take your one now, but I'll bring my one on later on. When I finish work, I'm going to come by you and drop it off to you. Is that permissible? La, it is not permissible. So the first qaida is إذا اتفق, the two things that you want to buy and sell, obviously the buyer and the seller, the two things that they wish to exchange, if they are of the same kind and the same reason or the same illah, then there are two things that are wajib. And this is to be found in the hadith of Jabir, in the hadith of Ibadah. If you understand this, inshallah, we'll just zoom by. Number one, they have to be what? Same amount. Number two, they have to be there and then. طيب. Can I say, listen, I've got 20 grams of fidda, silver, and I've got 20 grams of fidda. I'm going to give you 20 grams of fidda, and you give me 20 grams of fidda. Like in my one is at home. My one is at my office. I'm going to bring it to you later on. Is that permissible? Why? What is it missing? Taqabud. Who's going to give me an example of the first tabid? The sisters. Wallahi, it's not rocket science. When we were talking about this, you guys were giving me the examples all by yourselves. Well, تفضل.
For example, somebody has 10 kilos of rose gold, another person has 10 kilos of white gold.
White gold, excellent. طيب.
So it needs to be given, it needs to be exchanged, it needs to be the exact same amount.
The same amount and
the same sitting.
مثلا بمثل يدا بيد. It has to be in the same sitting. Excellent. Is that understood? The sisters, an example from you, please. The only way we can learn is if you use examples, a lot of examples. Go on. Go on. You started talking.
If one person has middle dates and another person has sukri dates, then they must be exchanged
At the same time. A person has one type of dates, sukri, and another person has another type of dates. There are two conditions. What's the first? Firstly, they have to be equal. They have to weigh the same. They have to be equal. Also, the sister said they have to be in the same gathering. That tabid is understood. صح?
So, does it have to be physically يدا بيد or it has to be the same?
طيب, the question is, with qabd, does it have to be there and then, meaning physically exchange, or can it be what? مثلا account. Put it into account. لا. As long as, like with an account, obviously hand to hand is acceptable. However, if I'm buying gold and I'm using cash, I'm using cash. I can pay using a card. Obviously, the fact that they're taking that amount, they're deducting that amount from the account immediately, that takes the same ruling as al-qabd. It's as if it is in the same majlis. Number two, at-taqabud, hand by.
You see, with that one, would there be any leeway if, let's say, the people, the two individuals were close or something?
لا, there's no leeway about it. يدا بيد. The hadith, as we're going to see, يدا بيد.
It can't be like, even if that person's your brother.
لا, it could be your mother. لا, doesn't matter who it is. يدا بيد. طيب. The second shagd, again, we've got two items that we're going to buy and sell. إذا اختلف في الجنس. So the jins, they're two different types. They're two different types of wealth. Who can give me an example? طيب, لحم. Two different types of لحم. واتفق. لا, that's لحم. That's نفس الشيء. لا, not dates and gold. Gold and silver. طيب, excellent. Gold and silver, or dates and milh and so on. Like we have gold and silver. طيب. So the blue is the gold and the red is the silver. طيب. So these two are now اختلف في الجنس. They're two different types, right? Gold is not silver. لكن, pay attention, واتفقا في العلة. لكن in the علة, the reason why they're haram to do riba in is because the علة is the same. Which is what? The maniyah. The علة is the same. The علة, silver, gold. Are they the same type? Are they the same علة? Of course, no, they're the same علة. The علة is what? ثمانية. نعم, different currencies. Dollars, pounds. Are they the same kind? Are they the same jins? لا. لكن are they the same in their علة? Who said no? لا, they are the same. They're the same in their علة. So we've got silver, we've got مثلا dollars for pounds. You can exchange them. طيب. So they're different in their jins, in their kind. واتفقا في العلة. لكن the علة, the reason is the same. The reason why they are muharram. Both are ثمانية. طيب. What is the حكم? يجب التقابض. It is wajib to take it there and then. It is wajib to take it there and then, exchange it there and then. We're now going down the ladder. So we've gone a level down. What have we dropped? What have we left out? A tasawi. So you're exchanging dollars for pounds. They don't have to be what? Similar. They don't have to be equal. They don't have to be the same amount. So now we've dropped how many shagd? We've dropped what? Equalness. They don't have to be equal. Nevertheless, we've still got the first, which is what? Hand by hand, meaning exchange. On the dot, in the same majlis, in the same gathering. Another example. Two things that are the same in their jins, in their kind. Milh, salt, and tamar, dates. Tamar and dates. What is the illah? Let's say it's kale مع الطعم. They're both eaten and they're both measured. صح؟ طيب. So there's riba in these, in dates and in milh. Lakin, are they the same kind? Is dates or tamar and milh, are they the same kind? One and the same? No, they're not, right? طيب, so it applies here so far. They're different in their kind. واتفقا في العلة. Are they the same in the illah? The reason? Why? Because they're both weighed, al-kayl wal-tu'am. They're both weighed and they're both what? Eaten.
If one of them fell into, let's say, one where one can eat, let's say one you can eat and one you can weigh, they won't agree, right? But they have to follow the both.
La, they have to be the same, meaning they're both kale.
Okay.
They have to be either kale, either measured in hajm, in volume. If it's measured in volume, then that's fine. As long as it's measured in volume or wazn, and it's of food.
They both have to be like that.
And they both have to be like that. They both have to be like that. طيب. Who can give me an example of the second? Again, don't be scared. You've already been giving me tens of examples.
Tamar and meat.
Tamag and meat. Excellent. Tamag and meat. What is their illah? Kale. They're both weighed or measured, and they're both eaten. So they're type. What is wajib? What is the hukum? There and then. There and then, right? Do they have to be the same amount? La. So now we've understood this tabid and this tabid, right? What do you think the last one is going to be? The sisters, thinking about it, what do you think it could be? We're going downhill. If they differ in the jins and the illah. Who can give me an example? If they differ, these two things, totally different, totally different.
Just before that, so I'm like, I'm a bit confused about one thing. Basically, the jins, before you ran into it, like, tell us about the jins, you said dollars and pounds, but they're the same jins, which is cash. They're just different types of cash.
Different types of cash, yeah.
And then the jins cash, they're the same jins.
Each one is counted as a jins. Just like pounds are counted, just like the dhahab is counted as a jins, silver is counted as a jins, dollars are counted as jins, and pounds are counted as jins, euros are counted as jins. They're not the same.
So red gold and white gold is two different jins.
Red gold and white gold are
Still gold.
both under gold. Both under gold. So for example, with cash, maybe it could be an example where £20 notes and £5 notes and £10 notes. طيب. Third example. إذا اختلف في الجنس والعلة. Two different things. Who's going to give me an example? Dhahab, excellent. Dhahab and dates. Are they the same in their jins? La, they're not the same. One is obviously dhahab. One is, what was the other example you said? Meat. Dates. طيب. And in their illah, they're going to be the same? No, of course not. طيب. What's the hukum? لا يجب الشيء. There's nothing that is wajib. Who can give me another example? Dollars for meat. طيب. Another example outside of these six. Raisins and pounds. طيب. Excellent. Outside of these six. A book for?
No.
Yeah, don't panic. Yeah, you're right. Book for pens. Because they're totally different, right? So there's no taqabud. They don't have to be hand in hand, and they don't have to be equal. طيب. Let's move on to the book. The book should be fairly easy now. Go on. The example of? Qiyas. What about it? لا, is it book and pens يعني? What do you mean? Is it قياس? لا, it just coincides with this last one, which is if two things, when you're buying and selling, if they're different kind and they are a different illah, obviously, they can be bought and sold. They don't have to be equal. Like sofas for money. You can buy big sofas, small sofas, exchange it for cash. However, soon, inshallah, in the next lesson also, we're going to get to something which is called riba fi duyun. Riba in debts. With regards to riba in debts, anything can come under it, as we shall see. As was the riba al-jahiliyyah that they used to practice. So for example, I'm going to lend you £100, but you give me £120 back. Is that permissible? But that is not bay', is it? It is not a buying and selling. I'm borrowing something. I'm lending him money, right? So if I say £100, I'm going to give you £100, you give me £20, £120 back, that's haram, sah? طيب. So we're going to get to that inshallah towards the end. طيب. Where did we stop?